Hey, I'm Ocain, and I'm currently a CIO and a CISO. I've been a CTO, a president, a vice president. I've run MSPs and MSSPs, run incident response teams and security operations centers, have grown successful cybersecurity and IT practices, and now I am acting as a vCISO and vCIO for several of our clients. So what did I want to talk to you about today was mergers and acquisitions. So mergers and acquisitions are a big opportunity for a cybersecurity failure. One of the reasons is that companies, when they're getting ready to sell their company, tend to really reduce costs. May let people go, may run their team really light, where they're just not hiring new people, and this may last for a year or two. During a phase when they're trying to do the best they can on their numbers and show growth, they're also cutting costs to show an improvement in EBITDA, which gives the company a higher valuation. So these are why they're doing drastic cost reductions. One of the problems is with those drastic cost reductions is, you're often not investing in cybersecurity the way you should. You're often not improving your staff or increasing the staff the way you should. And so as risk is increasing, your investment in cybersecurity is decreasing. Then there's a couple other factors. Around the time of transition, when a company is being sold, a lot of times employees know the company is being sold and don't feel great about the idea of being acquired, and the instability that may mean for their job and their career. And a lot of them get kind of that senioritis, screw it kind of attitude, and lose focus and really don't want to get as involved and pull the all-nighters in order to make an owner rich in order to sell their company. So that can add risk to your situation. Another thing is accumulated technical debt. Because that savings mentality and reducing costs for improved EBITDA, a lot of times there is a lot of technical debt that starts to add up. Whether it's in programs that you developed internally and as part of your intellectual property, or programs that you acquired and need upgrade, hardware that needs to be upgraded, things like that. When you are in the sale of a company, almost always you're not putting that first. You are trying to do what you can to conserve costs and not upgrade systems when you're going into a sale. So as a result, the company that acquires you is looking at, a potential, company that may be performing really well EBITDA-wise, but is underperforming cybersecurity-wise. And it's really hard to tell that without thorough due diligence. With thorough due diligence, a expert can identify some things that are being neglected and that you would want to see corrected before you acquire the company. So this has bit companies a lot in the last couple of years. Really, 53% of companies, according to Forescout, in their survey, encountered critical cybersecurity issues during the M&A process. And those are the ones that are doing really good due diligence too, is noticing, 53% of them are noticing there's a problem. But there have been ransomware incidents during an acquisition and just after an acquisition. Before the company's integrated, after the acquisition, a lot of times you're waiting several months, a year, a couple of years to integrate them fully. And in that time, they're getting ransomware, and which can cost millions of dollars to, recover from and do legal notifications and then pay any fines and fees. It can be very expensive. So when you're in mergers and acquisitions, you're looking at the possibility of a lot of expense uh, due to a ransomware event or another cyber event. There's also a lot of risk during mergers and acquisitions for data loss. And what that means is that people that don't feel good about the acquisition, don't feel good about being sold, they feel like their job is at risk, will take a copy of all their source code. Will take a copy of all the work they've done and copy it off and keep it for the next job. So when you're buying a company, it's important to think about that and think about the culture of the company that you're acquiring, as well as kind of the feeling, the mood that the employees have had. So if people are resistant to the acquisition, it's almost a guarantee that they have a copy of all of their work and source code and design and everything like that, and that they're already looking at the job market. And so you may be acquiring a company and all the intellectual property walks out and goes to a competitor as soon as you acquire the company. So there are these risks to think about. So due diligence is extremely important. There's a very thorough due diligence, risk assessments, pen tests, interviews. There's a lot of things involved in that, and that should be done by a real expert. And then the integration component. Once you've acquired this company, how do you create users for them? How do you manage their security as they get folded into your company? How closely are you integrating them? Are you keeping them as kind of their standalone company, or are you tucking them in and integrating them in with your company? Is there kind of a trust between these companies that you're establishing with a VPN? And then if so, it's important to really understand the architecture at that company IT-wise and determine the risk that that adds. A lot of companies have VPNs to their vendors and to partners and to other sites. And if you acquire that company and then VPN, allow traffic without any kind of, inspection into your network, you're opening it up to anything that they had it open up to also. So we've seen where that has been a problem, where companies that have acquired several other companies, they just bolt on their network and kind of create a link between them, and it ends up creating a real huge non-segmented risk, threat surface for risk for the company. So when approaching mergers and acquisitions, I would approach it as a zero trust design. So use the zero trust design principles, identify protect surfaces, really kind of enforce reauthentication and authentication in order to access everything. Use that least privilege concept. Use all of those techniques when creating the core architecture for your company, so that when you're doing mergers and acquisitions and bolting on these other companies, you're bolting them on using a secure model, and you're using that zero trust model. If you are using zero trust properly and really kind of architecting your company and your acquisition networks around zero trust, then the blast radius of an attack or of a cyber event is much smaller, because you're not inherently just trusting everything on the network to be able to talk to everything. In that case, ransomware can just spread everywhere. But if you're locking down things with zero trust, you're using role-based access and using the principle of least privilege, then you are really mitigating that blast in the event of a cyber event. So this can be a lot. You're acquiring a company. There's a lot of nerdy cybersecurity stuff to think about. Who to guide this? Well, Implementation-wise, it's going to be some cybersecurity experts. But in order to come up with that strategy and that plan and do the due diligence, come up with a plan, decide to implement zero trust, things like that, you really need a CISO doing that. And so you say, well, our CISO is busy. Your company has a CISO or doesn't have a CISO, but they don't have the bandwidth to focus on all these acquisitions you're doing. So that's the perfect opportunity to bring in an outsourced CISO. Bring them into your company, make them a part of your team, and have them handle the chief information security officer role for those acquisition companies. So mergers and acquisitions are a real opportunity for a mistake to happen, a real opportunity for things to get really screwed up, and in a very expensive way, especially with ransomware, data loss, things like that. So it's really important to have a hold on cybersecurity during that acquisition time. During that acquisition time, it's really important for you to start thinking about how you are going to manage security for your organization and for all the acquisition companies as you continue to go. It's ongoing management. It's not just a security here and security there. This is an ongoing conversation and security that has to happen between your organization and the organizations you're acquiring. It's a perfect opportunity for you to bring in someone like a vCISO or a vCIO that has a security background in order to help do that integration. All right, well, I hope you have a good rest of the day, everyone. This is Ocain. I'm out.